Good morning. Good morning. What's up, fellas?
Good
What's
morning.
good, bro? How you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good,
Not
man. Good.
not bad.
Nice. If y'all hear it buzzing, that's my computer. I guess my computer in this time of the month is having a hard time, but that's what the buzzing is. So welcome back to another team meeting where our mission is to distract you from your current story, dismantle your current belief systems, and inspire you to change your mind. Because once you change your mind, you can change your life. All of the places y'all can find us: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Get your apparel at game7shop.com. On our two main programs, our Goal Line program, which is essentially mentoring with physical fitness mixed in, and our mentoring and coaching program, Game 7 Academy. And you can find all the information there on game7.com. We love the likes, we love the comments, but our mission is to serve. So please make sure you hit that share button whenever you all see us. I get so many DMs and texts and stuff from people I don't know that's paying attention, but don't nobody hit that share button. So don't just watch. It's cool that you're watching, but if it's impacting you, it can probably impact somebody else. So hit that share button. So this week, and for the time being, our podcasts are going to be a little bit different, and I'm going to depend on y'all fellas, and whenever the other fellas can show up, um, to bring more of y'all experiences to the table too, because I have less time to prepare, at least to go as in depth as normal with all these 80-page presentations and such. I don't really have the time at this point to go in depth, but I do have time to throw something together when I'm impacted by something to at least get enough for us to have a discussion. So, what's the focus for today? So, not this past Friday, 2 days ago, but 9 days ago, went back to work. And as we all know, I'm a teacher. Where I teach shall remain nameless, but I am a teacher. And when we went back to work, because now, like, all of a sudden, SEL, which is called social emotional learning, is like a thing now. Like, that's what we've been doing, but ever since the pandemic, it's became something that's more regularly accepted, I guess, something that more people are doing because of people's responses or lack of response to the pandemic and the physical, emotional, and financial tools that came along with the pandemic. So I went back to work. So first thing we did when I went back to work, I was with a group of other educators, and we had like a group where we talked about some things. This was our SEL. And one of the questions was, now that we're back to work, what is your goal for the year? It's probably a good 15 to 20 of us. And everybody went, shared their goals. And, you know, me, like, I'm paying attention to what people say. Like, if you ever want to do something, I'm not the guy to tell that you want to do it if you don't really want to do it. Because, like, I'm expecting you to do it. Not really by a deadline, but I expect you to start today, and I expect you to do everything in your power to reach your goal. Or I expect you to say, nah, Malcolm, I'm just bluffing, I'm just rapping, it sounds good. And then I'll leave you alone. But if you say you want to do it, I'm the guy you can count on to at least play my role as support or whatever my role may be from the outside to help you reach that goal. All right? And out of the 20 or so people, 75% or more of them said that I'm going to commit to taking care of my mind and my body better. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start stretching. Some form or fashion of self-care. So I'm just listening. And so after we all went, first question, the one lady, she was like, was that really your goal? I'm like, yeah. And my goal was, I said, my goal in the next 2 years is to match my teaching income with my income from outside of teaching, right? So in 2 years, I want to be able to keep getting my teaching income from Game 7 trading and anything else that comes from me and doesn't come from an outside entity. I'm like, yeah, that's really my goal. She was like, is that really realistic? I'm like, for me it is. I'm not sure about what you got going on, right? But for me, she said, oh, that's interesting. Like, you're a really driven person. So I appreciate that. Well, then I raised my hand. I was like, can I ask y'all an SEL question? They was like, sure. And I was like, well, what is it about now when you have work back in the way to where you have to commute here, be here all day, commute back home or to wherever you live? That's at the minimum. If you live 5 minutes away, that's 8 hours and 10 minutes. Like that you no longer have. So what is it about now that makes you think you can make that commitment to yourself that you didn't do before when you had that extra 8 hours and 10 minutes? So you got this big, huge burden coming back to your life. And now you're going to start working out. And now you're going to start reading. Now you're going to start stretching. So they start looking. They're like, that's a good question. I was like, yeah, so like what is it about now? And like no responses besides that. That's a good question. Right? Because in my head, I'm like, y'all just rapping. Or there's some big catalyst, like maybe I'm around people again, or I just had to get out the house, or I had anxiety and it's not that bad, and now I can see that it's not just me, or whatever the case may be, right? Because those responses are what leads to the discussions. That's the real SEL. Not just asking questions like you're a real person that's not just school oriented. That's not SEL. Not this stuff that's just touching the top of the cake, right? You got to get down in there, right? But my opinion was like, it was just a cool thing to say. I want to take care of my mind and my body. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because if you're not going to make that commitment without a catalyst. So I was being sincere. I'm like, what was your catalyst? No responses. Until later, there was a lady who was in the group. She came to my room. She said, I just wanted to take the time to respond to your question. That was a very, very good question. But through the pandemic, I cut off a lot of people. I got divorced. I got a new set of friends. I started working out. I started taking care of my body. So I'm not changing now that I'm back at work. But I do like your question, but I'm letting you know that I already started caring for myself. I just have to adjust my routine now that I'm back to work. Cool. Nobody else ever said anything. And there's no coincidence that the person who already started is the one who came to respond. Now to the other 15 to 20 or so people, no responses. And we talked about it in the group chat. And those of y'all who responded kind of said like it was an a-hole thing to do, right? Tierra said that I was triggered. I said, how am I triggered? Like, I just asked a question. Like, maybe it's a question that most people duck, but I really wanted to know. I really wanted to know. And like that kind of just talks to me about society. Like we have the umbrella conversation collectively. Very rarely do we get to the root of the conversation. And as I was talking to Tierra, I was like, yo, I wasn't triggered. And like, well, she was like, well, maybe some people have anxiety or maybe some people been through some things. I was like, well, by getting those responses, that's what leads to the conversations, right? So maybe so-and-so was stressed out during the pandemic and now they got increased ability from work. They got a gym at work, hypothetically. I just found out. I've been at this school for 4 years. I never knew we had a gym. It's in the sub basement. I didn't even know we had a floor below the basement, right? They fixing it up. They rehabbing it or whatever it's called. I had no clue. Or maybe somebody's been through some things, right? So we can have that conversation. That's how you get help, right? It's kind of like therapy. So that was something that happened to me that stuck out. Is now all of a sudden everybody wants to take care of their mind and body when they have this big burden that is now placed back more or less as the center of their lives. So then speaking for me, to echo point number one, this was by far the toughest week in a long time, a very, very long time, simply because work is back in the way. Like it's just all the way in the way. But from the minute I walked back into the building, I got a reminder of why, right? Like why is Game 7 even here today? Going back in the building reminded me of why. So let's take a quick refresher on why. So level one of why is survival. You have a job to make money. You focus on paying your bills. And I probably should say a lot of people, not some people. A lot of people stop there, especially in our community. It's like the general thing to say is to pay your bills. Like once you can pay your bills, you're good. Or you don't have a say in the house until you don't pay no bills, right? Everything is all about paying the bills and just maintaining a life. You got food on the table, clothes on your back. Like you made it. That's level one, survival. Level two, status. You got a solid job, you got a nice car, you got a nice house, you don't know nothing about real estate. You bought a house at the top of the market. Your kids go to a great school. You talk about all the things that you have. You're Instagram famous in your hood. All of the things that you do to keep up with the Joneses. You walking up and down the crates. You made it. All these kind of things just to have the status, right? When most people reach this level, they cool out. They're the American dream. They married, they got a house, they took a picture with their ring, and as we know, according to the data, 3 to 5 years later, that ring finger is going to be ringless again, right? Not my opinion. It's facts as of the 2021 data, right? But that's the status. And a lot of people fall into those traps, whether it's buying a home too early, getting into a relationship too early because of the status, right? Oh, I'm 30 now. I'm too old. I don't want to feel like a little boy or a little girl. I don't have a nice car, or I'm only renting. I don't own a home, or I just have a boyfriend and we're just playing games together. Like we're not married, whatever the case may be. People are chasing that status. Level three, freedom. You are sick of your great job. It's driving you up a hill. Yes, you make six figures, but you work six figures hours a week too. 50, 60, 70 hours, whatever the case may be. Doing something you may want to do, or maybe something you don't want to do. You got the kind of money that gives you breathing room. Like now you can pay your bills and you can go on vacations and you got Balenciagas on your feet and you still got a little bit left over. Like you're doing all right. You live in a nice home. You got like a community. Your kids can walk around, not worried about like getting shot, all those kind of things. It's a nice little place, right? But a lot of people, when they do make it there, they feel empty because like that's the pinnacle of where you're supposed to go. Like, you're not just paying your bills. You got money saved for a rainy day. You got your family tied up how it's supposed to be. Everything is cool. But you, the person, are empty because you probably made this from working, which is cool. Like I'm not saying don't get bread and don't make it to freedom. It's a necessary part of the process. But like those are the people. Like only a person who already has money will tell you money isn't everything, right? These are those people, right? They figured out the money thing, but they're not fulfilled. These are those people. But then above that, where these people didn't quite make it yet, is purpose. Purpose is about realizing why you were born and pushing the limits to be the greatest version of yourself. It's based off of how you want to be remembered and how you want to make an impact. Operating at this level is driven by history, serving others, change, impact, and enlightenment. Very few people reach this level due to fear, being stuck in survival mode, having too many distractions, and not prioritizing education over entertainment. So as we have our discussion today, I want to focus on this last statement. Very few people reach this level due to fear, being stuck in survival mode, having too many distractions, and not prioritizing education over entertainment. So on Friday, for some reason this year, we started on a Friday. We didn't start on a Monday. I walked into the room where our mailboxes are. All of the mailboxes were empty except for mine, at least the ones that I saw. And there was an envelope. So I was like, all right, I'm thinking maybe it's a check or something. And I see it's a letter from some random address, but I recognize the name. It was from a student of mine from 4 years ago, 11th grader now. 11th grader. I taught it's a young lady. I won't say anything about who or race or anything like that, but it was a young lady. There was a letter in my mailbox. So I opened the letter, and the young lady tells me that she's now living or residing in mental health institution home, like somewhere where people who are having mental health issues, where they reside while they're doing rehab and such. And she's asking me these questions like, "Am I crazy? Here's what happened. I had some sexual interactions that I didn't condone, that were not approved by me. People think I'm crazy, and I got all of these things going on. And the only person I could think of to talk to is you. So I'm writing you this letter just to let you know that I really, really appreciated you as a teacher. You're my favorite teacher ever, and I'm just looking for some feedback on how to help me, because people saying I'm crazy, but I really don't think I'm crazy, but I really don't know who to talk to." Keep in mind, this is a young lady I taught 4 years ago who's not in 11th grade. I taught her as a 7th grader. All right. So boom, I didn't want to go in that day, but that's a quick reminder of why. That's why we got to this program, right? Like, I would always get in trouble for not teaching math, but because I was teaching the kids, I found out what they really needed, you know. And I got a big, not a box, but like a big folder of letters like that, newspaper articles, notes from kids, a good 100 of them, not exaggerating, and not one of them are about math. They're all about our connections as people with nothing to do with math, simply from talking to them. All right. So on Friday, I got that letter as soon as I walked in, and then on like Wednesday, I took a walk, as I do every day at work, and I went to CVS to get some binder dividers to divide up my binders, so I don't got to comb through. I could just go to the page. And I see this young lady and a young man. And this young lady is the one, whenever I talk about Game 7, like the switch for me was when the student said I saved her life. This was her. I seen her and another dude I used to teach, who's a football player now, high school, one of the best programs in the country. They're not top 25, they're probably top 50, but he's a football player there. I saw them too, and we just rapped a little bit, checked on how they was doing, and they left. But then on Friday afternoon, I got a text, and the young lady was like, "Yo, Malcolm, the ambulance just came to take my mother to the hospital. They don't know if it was a heart attack, a stroke, or aneurysm or something, but something is wrong. And I'm just looking for kind words, and I didn't know who else to reach out to." Right? So I was like, "All right, I'm a little busy now, but I'll give you a call in about 20 minutes. So I called her, and she just poured her heart out to me. She was like, "Yo, all these things are going on with my mother, and my family thinks I'm a little crazy or a little weird because I don't really feel sad, but I can't get myself to feel sad. Like, so I didn't really know who to reach out to, but I figured you would understand. So if you got some time, can we talk?" So I called her. We talked for a good hour and a half, just checking in and giving her my advice according to what I've learned in our relationship. And I bought her a journal so that she could journal. And I also taught her that if you don't want to write, you can voice record and have like a audio journal and just sometimes listen to yourself, because she was saying that she's losing trust in a lot of her friends because she would share personal stuff with them and then it would come out later. And she just fought one of her good friends the week before because of some personal stuff that came out, right? So I was just teaching her about trust and how to handle your emotions, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. This was a student from 3 years ago, 7th grader. So this week, I got a reminder of why, right? Why do I do what I do? Just from that letter and just from that text message and the interactions that follow. And I'm gonna try to go see that young lady at the home or wherever she is, if she's allowed to have visitors, and maybe I can give her some insight on what she's going through, from my opinion. But going back to the first point, where when I met with the faculty and people talked about making that commitment to themselves now that we're back at work. And I know I'll let KG speak on this too, because he talked about this when we were together yesterday. But going back to the point that this was the hardest week in a very, very long time. because I wasn't able to keep up my routine. Like my workouts in the morning, I did a workout in the morning on Monday, and I read in the morning, Monday through Thursday. But by the time I got to the afternoon, I was done. Like just from having to commute and go and do all that other stuff, like I didn't have no energy left. So I shifted. I go back to reading during lunch. I read a little bit in the morning, but I do my reading during lunch. After I take my walk, I go to my little spot. I read during lunch, before lunch, and then I read while I eat. So that's my reading right there. And then I started working out in the afternoon. But my workouts have been extremely hard, like way harder than normal, because normally workout first thing that I do, you got 100% of your energy for the day. You didn't have to expend any energy throughout the day and then work out, right? But with me, it's not a question of if; it's just a question of when. Like I still didn't miss any workouts. I didn't miss any reading. I didn't miss any of my market research, researching stocks and such. I did it all every day. But it reminded me of like having that game seven mentality. It was pretty easy to have the game seven mentality from home because all of my obligations were to just sit on the computer. I could turn my camera off and do what I got to do anyway and just listen for the important stuff, interact with the important stuff, turn it back off, do what I got to do. And then remember like how I was before, like just no watching TV, no music, no anything. And I know it's going to be another struggle in my relationship again, right? Because we're at that point, like I was telling, I think it was KG, I can see how people fall off. Like, it seems like me and KG often run into people, oh man, like I just hang out with my wife. I lost everything, not lost everything, but like I lost my desire to do anything, XYZ. And now they all big and out of shape and depressed and stuff because they gave up because of that extra time outside of work. It's like, yo, you got to choose chilling or working, right? You got to choose to make your wife or your girl happy temporarily because 10 years from now, when you're still on the same track because you didn't thug it out for these 2 or 3 years, it's going to be the life change and kind of argue with her when she not really understanding. Or you could be the woman and arguing with him or whatever the case may be because you're doing these extra things. So instead of watching that movie together, you're doing your market research, you're getting your workouts in, you're reading to become smarter. Like there's not that much time left. So this week was extremely difficult, extremely physically taxing because time was so limited. But I'm telling myself, I will not be that 40-year-old dude who's still at the same place I was at 32 because I didn't make the proper decisions, the tougher decisions outside of work because I sought that comfort, right? And that also made me think even more like, y'all not about to make this commitment to yourself now that you're back at work because it's too difficult. It's way too difficult, right? So all in all, my message is that I got a reminder of why from the two young ladies with the letter and the text, which tells me like I need to keep going because I need to be able to quit this job so I can help more people. Over the pandemic, over the years, we know Miss Kim's story, how she lost all that weight. We know my mother's story, how she's I think she increased her income by like 250%, if not more. We know all of our own stories. We got the two stories from the young ladies. So just putting in all of this extra work in the game seven mentality is going to feed me, is going to feed us, is going to feed everybody we touch by me and you all continuing to make the choices outside of work, even though work is in the way, right? So this is a message to myself. Number one is to not stop, no matter how hard it may be. Like I love the morning thing. It's just so much better to get it out the way. But also, I know that I can't crash, right? But I know for most people, they quit. It's a matter of if, right? Are you going to do your workouts? Are you going to do your reading? Are you going to work on yourself as a man or a woman, right? A lot of people are not because work is going to take everything from them. But me, it's simply a question of when, right? Adjusting my routine to make it happen. So I know that was kind of like a outwardly diary. I don't know if I really had a point. It was just kind of my experience from the week. So let's go Pizzle, and then we'll go KG.
Very, very good. I think you hit a lot of good topics, especially when you talk about like the why. Especially going down the different things of like survival, status, freedom, and purpose. You have to learn. I think one thing that people, and especially you saw it in school, is like learning that sometimes you do have to make some shifts to continue on your why, right? I think you hit a great point when you said that before you would wake up in the morning, you had that energy, you would do the stocks in the morning, but then when you came to work, everything had to shift, right? And it became a question of when versus if. But sometimes people get caught up in that, right? When you have to make the change. And I think they say that like one of the biggest factors and one of the biggest things that people hate is dealing with change. A lot of people don't like change. People don't like to adjust things, go down an alternate route. So I think it's very important to understand that as long as you have that goal and you know where you want to get, that path may change. I've always had a very important quote, and it says, the only thing that should be stable in your ride to success is you. And I always found that to be very important because sometimes that path may change, but as long as you're stable and you're continuing forward to find that why, everything else kind of works from there. And I know that I'm not struggling, but I've noticed it now, even at work. To give you some background information, I'm a building manager at DCPS as well, education. And I've been going into work every single day throughout the pandemic, unlike a lot of other people who have been teleworking the whole time. So I'm on the other end watching a lot of the people that Malcolm's referring to, like come back into the work and they're not able to work a full 8-hour day, or they're just, completely mentally out of it, right? And they're not really focusing on the why, right? Why are you coming into work? Is that to benefit a child? Is that to put money on the table so that way you're able to kind of like better yourself and go down a different path? And I think that a lot of people are losing that focus, which is then making it harder for them to come into work and to stay committed and to remain stable and continue to push forward. I'm seeing crazy things at work. I'm seeing people get upset about not having staples, right? You start to get people that start to complain about any little thing so that way they don't have to come into work. But it is very alarming right now to see that occur amongst just my building. And I know that's happening with a lot of other folks, is learning to make that change in a different environment, but still learning how to continue straight and achieve the goals you want to achieve. Now, I have seen, I'm not going to say her name, she knows who she is, but as a coworker, she had a divorce. And now, I see her every time she comes in, like she's lost a mad weight. She's very, very focused. She's very energy driven. And just her whole persona seems a lot different. But that's because to me, it looked like she changed her, or she found her why, and she kind of continued down that path towards it. But, though the teleworking schedule changed, a lot of other factors changed, she still continued down that path to achieve her why. So I think it's very important to, know what you want to get, understand that things are going to be hard. Storms come to test your foundation, right? To see how strong you are. So I think it is important to understand that, you're going to go through hard times. You're going to go through issues. You're going to have to learn how to make that shift to continue down your why, but just remain stable, and you can do it, man. It's back to work, back to normal, really. And I don't really think we had like too much of a topic, but I just wanted to I felt the need to say that.
I think this topic is more so like talk about experience and your personal connection to the topic versus trying to get everybody kind of advice, because everyone's situation is different, right? So for me, I'm in the same boat as Malcolm. Like yesterday, I went to Malcolm's crib to shoot an ad for something that we have upcoming for Game 7. And as soon as I stepped out the car, he just knew I was max. Like, if you know me, I'm a big energy guy all the time. And when I stepped out the car, I even felt it myself. Like, this is rough for me. So it was extremely different. Like this week, like going back into work, as you said, it was a huge adjustment, and it was something that I really wasn't actually giving that much attention to. Now looking back, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. It was like, because I believe in myself. It's like, well, I've been doing things like this the whole time. It's just going to be another adjustment, and I'm going to be fine. But when I got that, because I do a lot of different things outside of school too. I still personal train, so I was still doing that before and after school, and it kind of just showed me like, whoa, like before when I was doing the same thing, since I had to be home And like we said, we worked telecom. It wasn't that bad because I could still be engaged in the meeting while still doing things for me. But once you're in the building, have to commute, and it's more responsibilities when you're in the building, because then you got to go to different meetings, XYZ. It's just a whole different take. But I agree for sure. Like, I had to reevaluate, like, like, this is what I want to do, right? This is like, my why is bigger than this, right? And obviously, I work in a school as well. I'm not gonna say the school, and then you hear little comments like during, like, by the other educators that are like basically like complaining, just saying everything's trash. And for me, I didn't want to go through that route, because I know I have to shift my mind. If I just keep going into that, it's going to make my transition harder and harder. So I leaned into, like, yo, why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? I know, because one of the schools I work at, I'm going to have to really dive into SEL and knowing my students, because that's the type of background they come from. They need that love. And honestly, we don't know what we're about to get into, right? A lot of people didn't have structure for the last 2 years, especially the students. So it's going to be interesting. So for me, I didn't even really care about what some of the other educators were saying about what they had going on, because I know I didn't want to be sucked into that that like vortex of everyone like just talking about how trash it is. And yes, is it a way different experience than virtual learning after 2 years? Of course, right? Of course. But for me, I chose to stay in the lane of, like, yo, I'm doing this. Not for me, but for other people. So, but I'm not gonna lie, like, adding that time of commute and 8 hours at work, it really had to take a lot out of me this week, because I haven't done that for so long. And I'm encouraged that things are going to go better, because now I have a little bit better of an expectation, right? I think that was another reason why it was so hard the first week, Mount, because we didn't really know what to expect, right? Like, yes, we're back in the building, but we don't know what to expect yet, because everything is still new. Policies that they're putting in are changing. Every other day, it seems like we got to go learn something new about an updated policy that they put in. So for me, I think the theme of the year that I'm going to take is going to be the ability to adapt, right? Because this year, I think, especially in the realm of education, we're going to be forced to adapt. And if you don't adapt and adjust, it's going to make you miserable, because now you're not going to be able to get in any type of routine, because all you're trying to do is just fight what the new is. So, I kind of just talked about my whole experience for sure, but I think it is extremely important, especially if you're an educator and you're getting ready to go back to into school year starting, or if you're just getting back to work and any other profession that you do, before you go, ask yourself why, right? Like, why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? And once you can establish that, every time you have those thoughts, like, you can tap into that why, whether it's in the car, whether if you're sitting down at your desk, you always have that ability to tap in why you're doing this, especially when it's going to be moments of frustration, because getting back to work after a year and a half, 2 years of not working in a structured office, you're going to be tested. And, if you weren't testing yourself over these times, then it's going to feel like such a daunting task. But I'm going to throw it back to you, Mal.
All right. So as y'all was talking, like, this is what we would do if we was in a class, adults or not. So this is what I came up with. I need to switch my screen to this one. All right. So we're gonna do game 7 math. So we got work right here, I didn't get a chance to write the other one. And then we'll put you. So the red time is work time, and the blue time is you time, right? So we're all education. So let's go to let's stick to education. So we got work, 8 to 3:30. So you is let's say 5. I need to switch the color. Let's say 5 to 7. 5 to 7. And then if you get to come straight home, let's say 4:30. 4:30. Come on, baby. 4:30 to, I don't know, let's say 12. All right. And Pizzle made a good point about foundation. So this is taken up already 7 to like 4:30. It's gone. So you only have this other 10 hours or so, 9.5 hours for you. And you gotta sleep. Right? You got it. No, I put sleep in there. All right. So you got these other hours for yourself, which I think is too much. 5 to 7. All right. So what matters in the end is what you do with this time. So ideally, you should. I need to just write. Ideally, you should just come on, where is it? It's got to be a way I can type. But ideally, you should take care of your family. What else? What else does a normal person do? Family time. I'll put relationship time.
Time for yourself. So working out, meditating.
We're not putting that because that's not a regular person.
Oh,
Time to eat. Dinner time.
Okay.
Let's entertainment.
Entertainment. Man, I didn't even think of that. Okay. Entertainment.
Basically.
All right. That's the normal person. Right? That's the normal person. All right. So, and ideally, you do this, you're not gonna have no issues with your husband or wife. Your kids gonna be cool. Everything gonna be all right. But now on this side, let's go to this side. You got your workout. You got your workout. What else you got? You got your reading to get smarter. You got your research. You got research. What else do we do? Business.
Business development.
You got business. What else we got?
Self-reflection.
Yep, it's gonna say meditation.
I'll put self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Come on, baby. Self-care.
My man writing like a kindergarten.
It's hard to write with this clicking on his mouse.
No, that's okay. You got them nervous hands like me yesterday.
So workout, read, research, business, something. All right. Now here is where you get issues. Right? And what stuck out to me are the two people that we interacted with this week who are big on their self-care. As I said, that ring finger is now ringless. Right? One of the best decisions they made to graduate to self-care was shedding off that dead weight. Or maybe they were the dead weight. Who knows whatever the situation was. Right? But by going this way, it's going to be way, 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 way harder. This requires so much less energy. Family, you chilling. Now, you may have to drive to practice or recital or something, right? Relationships, especially if you're a man, like if you're a man, you're doing what she want to do. Right? Watching a movie or listen to her stories of the day or whatever. Eating is easy, entertainment is easy. This doesn't require no energy outside of breathing. Right? Workout requires tons of energy. Reading requires tons of mental energy. Research requires tons of mental energy. Business requires tons of mental energy. Self-care, mental and physical energy, right? All during this you time, right? So your family time takes an L. Your relationship time takes an L. What you eat doesn't take an L, but ideally it would be different than what you would eat if you were not intentional about your health. Entertainment is gone, right? So it's a much, 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 much more difficult process to care for yourself when you got work in the way. All right, but here's my point. So let's see. I want to erase this. All right, boom. So we erase all of this, and we're going to make a graph. So the normal work life, no matter where you work, standardly is linear, right? So your normal work life, it goes like this. You start off at the you don't start off like that. All right. I'm gonna just draw a line. So the normal work life is linear. It's like this. Every year, your pay goes up consistently. You may get a bonus in there here and there, but it's like this, right? This is the normal life. But if you're really trying to change the narrative for your family, change the narrative for your circle, or just, find fulfillment for yourself, it's probably going to be like this. As Pizzle said, foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be busting your ass with no return. But then one day, somebody goes back to Game 7 page. Oh, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all got 1 million podcasts. Y'all got that many views. I've been to a couple schools. Y'all got some great research. Y'all did dope on your presentation. I want you to bring this to our whole school district, which is not far-fetched. And boom. Now you out. Right? A lot of people are not willing to endure this process. You ain't worked out in 30 years, and you think you're going to get back in shape in 30 days, and in 30 days, you're not back in shape, you quit. Or you started reading and doing business, and your wife or your girlfriend is giving you trouble, you quit to keep the peace. Not realizing that 10 years later, oh, you still just like you was when you were 30. Now she out. I need a man who had a 40-year-old status, not a 30-year-old. Oh, you didn't get, bro, you got to stick through it. Right? If she don't appreciate it, she may not be the one. Right? Or you may gotta get up an hour earlier, get your stuff done an hour earlier. Now you got an hour for YouTube. So my point is, we have to make the sacrifices we make today, us three, and whoever else is in our boat, because our foundation is different. A lot of our foundations were made out of sands. Like our family didn't have nothing to leave to us because nobody endured this. Right? Nobody made these decisions, or maybe they did and they didn't stick it out. Right? So as difficult as the weeks were for us, and Pizzle, I guess your weeks have been like this over time, it's very, very important that we all endure this process. Because one day, Pizzle gonna get that call. Oh, Pizzle, you been doing all them weddings, bro? Yeah. Everybody getting married now. We 35, bro. You're gonna be the first person I call. Boom. Now Pizzle got 10 weddings all by himself. He gets to quit, right? Or we get that Game 7 call, or KG gets that contract with the Mather, or whatever the case may be. So it's very, very, very important that we endure. A lot of people get stuck on the fact that they busting they behind over here and they're not getting no return, even though it's been 5 years and they quit. And I realized, just this 5 years, you're not getting your retirement money from your organization. You can't get your money until you're 65. So that's 35 years from now, bro. So you can't sacrifice 5. My point is that it's very, very, very important to endure to establish that foundation. And then also, relationships are very, very important. Not just intimate relationships, but relationships with your friends, your cousins, your family. Because that outside time, if you really, really, really want to break that cycle, it's very, very important that you have intentional time and that you're intentional with the people that you hang with. So my point is, although it's difficult, you have to endure. And if you quit, realize that you're going to be on this process and it's going to be up to other people. You may get your raise, you may not. Or whatever the case may be, you leave it up to other people. So if you don't want to leave it up to other people, you can only leave it up to you. And it's not going to matter how difficult it is because it's only up to you. So let's go KG, then Pizzle.
I think you broke it down pretty real there. Having that ability to endure whatever you have to do, and also communicate with, if you're in a relationship or if you have a family, communicate why you're doing that with your partner, to your partner, and understand, like, yo, like, I got to do all this extra work so down the line, we can be what you want me to be. And I think, and I experienced that a little bit myself. When you don't have that proper communication of like why you do things, that can drive a big wedge in between your business life, your aspirations of what you want to do in terms of making money financially, and your family. So, having the ability to live in purpose while communicating to your other people in your life that you love and you care about spending time, can help that issue so much, because you're putting it into perspective, right? A lot of times people take things with their ego rather than seeing it what it really is. So when you look at things in the lens of all right, perspective, like, your person may not have the same perspective of you, because they may take it personal that you're spending time doing what you need to do rather than staying with them. So I think it's pretty cool to get on the same page and communicate that, because that's only going to make your life easier in the long run.
And that was good, KG. And Malk, that was good what you said as well. And I think one thing that resonated with me is, when you think about, somebody told me this analogy before and it's always stuck, is that when you think about stars, right, you only see them at night. And that's because the stars, they shine brightest when it's dark. So understanding that when you have that foundational piece and you are continuing on for those 5 years, you're not seeing rewards, Instagram handle isn't popping, you're only getting a couple views, you're only doing this, you're only doing that, to understand that, you will break out from that, right? That success will come, and the stars in you and the star in you will shine best at night, right? You got to continue just keep going. I look at my own personal life when I think about like photography, like it's hard. Like it's hard. I've been grinding. I've started from free shoots to $50 shoots to $200 shoots. I'm slowly working my way up there, but it's very eye-opening to go to weddings now and like people recognize me. And that's a weird feeling, right? Like to go to a wedding and someone's like, yo, I remember you. You did my friend's wedding last year. Like, those photos were amazing. Or people coming up to you like, I can't afford you because, you guys are so expensive. But you get that interaction with people, and then just realizing and confirming that, like, yo, like the grind in the dark, right? The consistent nights, the free shoots, the sleepless nights, everything that I was putting forward kind of is paying off now that it's still dark out, and now I'm starting to shine a little bit more. So understanding that you got to keep that foundation up. Things will be hard, and things will be tough, but just remaining consistent and remaining persistent is one of the keys to kind of being successful. And another thing I think you touched on too, Mal, when we talked about like the piggyback on the pandemic, I think a lot of people created habits, right, in the beginning of the pandemic, but then got comfortable with those habits. I think about coworkers when you talk to them when the pandemic first happened, And I'm in the Outer Banks, right? I'm in North Carolina at my beach house for a little bit. I'm just going to take it easy down here for a little bit. And then, you talk to them now a month later, what you up to? I'm still down here in Outer Banks. And you're like, well, damn, that was a vacation, when the pandemic first started, but now you got comfortable in that particular flow. And now you're keeping that up, right? So you have to realize is that in your foundational points, you have to, it might get easy. You might take the easy route on certain things, but realizing what you're doing and readjusting those points to just continue on and staying focused. So those are two things that I recognized and stood out to me.
Nice. And I want to spend a couple more minutes on the relationship aspect. So this week it was Tuesday morning, only my third day back at work, and Nas was like, "Dang, Dad," he's like, "You ain't never home." I'm like, "Bro, I've been here for 18 months. I've been back for 3 days. You're like, you ain't here." And she was like, "Man, you ain't been here all week." I'm like, "Yo, just last week you was talking about you sick of being up under me. Like we've been together too much. Now I've been going for 5 days, right?" But the pandemic, it gave us a taste of like what life is like not having to work for somebody else. Even though we had to do work, but it gave us a taste of like having time, But the relationship part, and like, I ain't gonna put nobody else out there, but speaking for me, and we've had these conversations, me and some friends, it's like a woman wants a man who works hard, who's bringing things to the table, who's doing all the things that a man should do, but also those would be the same things she gets upset with, like, "Oh, we ain't been nowhere," or "We ain't spending no." Bro, like you want a man that I'm doing all this shit so we can have stuff and we can do stuff. Like nobody else gonna give it to us. So it's like trying to find that balance. And to me, I think the first thing is, like KG said, is tell them why. That's cool. But I think what's even more important is to have a partner who believes in you, right? Because if they believe that Pizzle can do them weddings, they believe that KG can train XYZ, they believe that I can teach whoever, they'll be a lot more willing to sacrifice their time with you for the work because they believe that in due time it's going to come to fruition, right? That's why we see like celebrities, like two that come to mind are Amari Hardwick and Snoop. Like a lot of times the public, like through comments, to say like, "Why are you married to her? Like you could do so much better than her." Like just of how, according to how her looks, like not an Instagram model or a runway model, it's like a around the way chick. And their responses was like, "Yo, like she was with me when I had nothing. Like when I was sleeping in the car, or I was recording and selling mixtapes for $1 and like nobody would buy them and trying to sell t-shirts and all that. She was with me. She rocked out throughout the process. Like she knows the me before all of this return. Like y'all see the me today, but y'all understand like it took me 10, 15, 20 years to get to this point. All right. So number one, I think that your partner has to believe in you. But number two, it's like they need to have something going on for themselves as well. Because if they occupy with their own mission, like y'all can come together to support each other, right? So whether that's they got their own teaching thing, their own art thing, their own cosmetology thing, or their own mission, right? You should challenge him or her to also find something that they can change their life with too. Because just put it in a good analogy for me. It's like, yo, now sometimes you try to be like LeBron on the Cavs. Like you can't do everything, bro. Because like if you drop the ball one time, the whole team loses. Like LeBron didn't start winning ships until he went to a team to where he did his thing, if not even better. But he also had other people who believed in him and they played their role and they brought their stuff to the table too. So if you are having issues, and I keep sticking to the man thing because that's what I know, it's very, very important that you have a partner who believes in you, and you have a partner who goes who has something going for themselves. And as stated, just from our weekly experience, the two women that we came across who are doing better and feeling better and doing more things, they're recently divorced. And I know the women I'm talking about, she's not that old. As we learned from a couple of weeks ago, the podcast, in the Black community, the average age of the first divorce is age 30, right? So all in all, it's very, 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 very important who you choose to have relationships with. Intimate relationships and also friend relationships. Because like every week after this call, or if we don't have a podcast, we all get together and do our own call. Like, this is what happens, this is what's going on, XYZ, and everybody gives feedback back to each other about what they think, what's good, what's bad, what can we help with, or whatever the case may be, right? So the relationship amongst us as men plays a huge role. I'll speak for myself in my life with my relationship with school, my relationship with Nas, my relationship with T, my relationship with Game 7, my relationship with my mind and my body. Like, just getting that feedback from y'all. Like, all I try to do is just make it to Sunday. Like, if I make it to Sunday, I'll be all right. And then make it to the next Sunday. Make it to the next Sunday. And I can tell, like, from some of our friends who aren't necessarily in our intimate circle, like, they struggling a lot harder, you know? Very similar struggles to us, but I'm not sure who's supporting them in their journey, you know? And, like, we still here and we still available, but, you know, our Game 7 circle is different, and we don't really have much else to give, you know? And not to be shady, but, like, everybody is on Game 7 for a reason, you know? So the more and more that people add value, the more and more people that will add to the circle. And for any of y'all who haven't made this, I'm not saying you don't add value, but it's a different level. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that sounds fair. But we want more people, you know. But the more and more that people add value, the more and more people that will add to the circle. So it's very, very important to have relationships with people that believe in you and people that have things going for themselves. Otherwise, they kind of just in the way. You know, you can see them for some drinks or hit them on FaceTime every now and then, have some fun time. But outside of that, if they're not in that indoor process, I see you when I see you. So let's go back down the line, Pizzle, KG, and then we get out of here.
No, I mean, that was good. I think, you know, understanding that there are different people in your life to fulfill different things. So, you know, it's nothing personal, but you got to stay around like-minded people. They say birds of a feather flock together. So it is very, very, thank you very much, Ms. Kim. Yeah, birds of a feather, they flock together. So it's very important with who you surround yourself around, because those are people who are consistently feeding you, right? Those are the people that you talk to for no reason. And I think those are people that you talk to for no reason are some of the most influential people in your life, right? Because you're getting information, you're learning from them, and you'll continue down and listen to whatever they say. So surround yourself with like-minded and good people.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that for sure. When you're around people that are like-minded and help you stay accountable with yourself and each other, it allows you to flourish and become the best version of you. Because if you're around the people who just accept what you do and don't challenge you, or you don't challenge them, you know, not much growth is going to be had, because you're just doing what you want and you're not being accountable for it, because you know, simply no one's checking you. So having that good team around you to understand, to keep you on that path, understanding your why, having someone who believes in you, is all these crucial things that are needed for you to be the best version of yourself. And when you're the best version of yourself for yourself, you're also the best version of yourself for the people who are around you. And that can produce so much fruit, because when you have a bunch of people vibrating at their highest frequency, one, because it's important for them, it makes the collective better in the whole. So I just want to leave it with that.
Question for you, Pizzle, from what you said. Now, this is a question that people often ask me. I don't have like-minded people around me like you do, Malk. So that's not logical for me. I don't have people around me like you do, Malk. That's not logical. That's not logical for me. So what do you say to them, Pizzle?
That's BS.
Why is it BS?
Because that's the whole purpose, right? You have to find those people. Ain't nobody, the people around you, what you have to realize is in life, the people around you a lot of times are your friends because of proximity, right? When you think about your childhood, you think about elementary school, a lot of your childhood best friends who you thought was the best man and has the best education and the best things, y'all are only friends because y'all both went to the same elementary school and y'all are in the same neighborhood, right? So understanding that sometimes you have to break that in order to find the people who will build value in you, right? I think we got lucky because we all went to Howard University. Well, me and Malk and G went to Howard University, and then even amongst that whole crew, right, we still were able to find like, yo, actually, there's something wrong. There's something about this boy Malcolm, yo. I don't know. They got a midterm coming up tomorrow, but they in the house doing whatever they doing, and I'm over here failing the test because I'm not paying attention. But it was finding the people who think like you, who want the same goals, right? Versus the people that are automatically around you who you expect to convert to that, if that makes sense. So I would say in that situation where somebody may say, I don't have those people around them, like, yo, find them. Put yourself in a situation and put yourself in an environment where you will be able to find those individuals. You're in the videography, right? Do free shoots, go to street meetups and different things like that. And then you'll find individuals who are into the same things who may be able to provide some like insight and tips and other value added information to kind of help boost you up. And then, you may find somebody or find a couple more people who are actually great. And there's a whole group of people like Black men who are talking about great things on Sundays, right? But you have to go out and you have to search for it and find it versus expecting it to come to you. That would be my answer.
KG?
I say the same thing because I get that a lot. People are like, I'm not like you. I don't have these guys that I can talk to. And I think that's the beauty of the internet, right? The beauty of social media. Will you have these people totally right for you? No. You may not have that relationship with any around you, but the thing about social media is you are connected to billions, if not trillions of people who may believe and feel like you. The question is, and the problem is you just have to be willing, like you said, KP, to do that work, to discover that group of people, right? Like Facebook has so many groups that you can join. Discord, it's a little subgroups on Instagram. So if you're looking for someone, shoot your shot. One of the favorite things I love to say is you can't score if you don't shoot, right? So if you see someone on Instagram that is living a way, or any social media platform that's living a way that you kind of want to live, one, follow that person. You may not have to hit them up often, but just follow and see what they do, like see how they live their life. And then if you're feeling really confident, or you feel like if somebody with a following that actually does respond to people in their following, because I'm not going to say hit up Will Smith with millions of followers and expect him to hit you back. No, you got to be a little bit more realistic than that. But it's plenty of pages out there that follows. Right? And another thing that you got to realize is your social media is a part of your diet. So if you're a male and you're following pages where all you see is watching twerking all day, like does that align with like the group that you want? Or do you follow pages that are providing you free information, right? So a lot of your diet, it can be what you lack in terms of your friends, right? So the podcast you listen to, if you do watch TV, the type of TV you watch, just all the type of people you follow. So it even if you don't have that elaborate connection with one person or a couple of groups, you can get that from multiple people, multiple sources through social media. You just have to be open and willing to do so. And you never know, one day down the line, that group that you join on Facebook or Instagram, they can hold a meetup space, and then you can actually meet them in person. I know my sister did that before, right? She's a part of a couple of groups on Instagram, and that they actually, after like talking for a while, because the group was already established, right? And she joined, and then after getting some good feedback from the group, they actually invited her to join the in-person like meetup. So it's definitely possible for you to have that. It's more so you have to have the mindset and the perspective that it's they're people for you, rather than having the easy mindset and the weak mindset of saying, well, I just don't have those people in my life. It's not that easy as you because XYZ.
But more importantly, while you're finding the people to meet, you need to be working on you. Because when you meet them people, you have to leave an impression. You have to add value, right? So don't think that they're going to change you, because if you pull up, you're not adding no value, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the meetup, right? There's like every year, new rookies, football about to start. Every year, it's new rookies that come to the team, and 99% of them don't make it, right? But if you've been prepared, like the dude number 1, Callaway from the Saints, never heard of this dude in my life. That man caught 3 passes, 2 for 50-yard touchdowns. He's going to be on the team, right? He was prepared for the moment. He got around professional athletes. A lot of dudes don't be ready for whatever the case may be, right? And if your friends don't have it, number 1, work on you. Like, I take tremendous pride for us collectively making the shift. Like, for years, every morning, I'm just sending y'all motivational videos. There's videos and videos and videos and videos. Then I shifted to the next thing. Like, we got to start talking about games and get rid of video games and all this. And we need to talk about books and money or something. And then I shifted. So I was just doing stuff and doing stuff and doing stuff and doing stuff. And I kept telling you all, like, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And then whoever responded, that's who came into the new circle. And whoever kept it going, that's who came into the new circle. Whoever did XYZ after that, that's how we got the Game 7 circle, right? So if you don't have those people in your circle, start to create the circle, right? Everybody knows plenty of people, and see who comes along with you. It may not be, like, our real circle is probably like 20 people, like, collectively. But our Game 7 circle is 6 people, right? We all started together. Here's where we are. So make sure you're adding value while you go find those people. So check the comments, and then we out. So first one, I think that this was a great topic. Every speaker this morning has the skills and the dynamics to lead and gather those to them. Iron sharpens iron. I cannot read. Iron sharpens iron. Thank you, Kimmich. Great topic. I hope there's a follow-up discussion within the next few weeks. Quite possibly. And I don't know why she put this, because I ain't going. September 4th, Richmond versus HU football game at Robins Stadium. I think we know how that's going to go. But
HU?
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, she has a couple of side hustles from her IG. After doing her research, she linked up and is getting paid. Shout out to Kalia, the social media monster now. I hope she continues it and makes more and more money. So before we go, our in-person follow-up to this conversation, on October 16th, we are holding our first Flex Your Stress event at Weekly Performance and Rehab in DC. Going to be Marcus. He's going to do some cognitive behavioral therapy. This dude with these dusty dreads, KG, is going to do some personal training. Me, I'll help you with your mindset. G is going to help you with your career and money. And this dude is Dr. Kennedy. As we said, add value. We bring you on the team. He's actually a friend of my little brother. Somehow he connected with KG. They came up with this idea. We all got together, and now we have this. So during the pandemic, and obviously pre-pandemic, there's a lot of stressful situations for a lot of different people. And we realized that a lot of people don't know how to use stress to their advantage. Like, stress is viewed as such a bad thing. And when you view it as a bad thing, you're going to get bad results. But when you view it as a challenge, you challenge yourself. And obviously all good things are going to be challenging. And when you overcome them, you get the fruits of your labor. So October 16th, if you watching this, you better be there. October 16th is only $20. We got a stress workshop. We hope to see you there. So thank y'all for tuning in. We will see you next time, whether that's next week or 2 weeks or whenever that is. We'll be back at some point. And as soon as I can find the video, we out. Here we go. Peace out.